What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Moth, and today I'm gonna hit y'all with my thoughts on this new album from Symba entitled Results Take Time. So, Symba is a thoughtful and clever MC coming out of Los Angeles by way of the Bay Area, Oakland to be exact. Now, this is the first Symba album that I really sat down with, as I only heard snippets of his 2020 project. At the time, I liked what I heard, but I never had the chance to give it a full listen. But now in 2022, he is linked with the legendary DJ Drama of Gangsta Grillz fame to release this new project entitled Results Take Time. And from the cover art, it's pretty apparent that he was likely inspired by E40's In a Major Way cover art with the diamond watch bezel picture, and I thought it was cool that he was showing love to his Bay roots. There is something about Symba's voice that is distinctly West Coast, yet he could also pass for an East Coast artist, if that makes any sense. This project contains 16 tracks that last approximately 52 minutes, but with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. This thing kicks off with the epic opener, Overnight, where Symba talks about the constant grind and toil that it took for him to make it. And he reminds us that there's no such thing as an overnight success. I mean, maybe for some, but if they do become this overnight success, they tend to fizzle out quick. He raps, I used to think a fresh pair of J's was something to cherish. Now I rock a fresh pair of J's just to run errands, which instantly put me in the frame of mind of the classic Nas line, I thought Jordans and a gold chain was living it up. But yeah, it was a strong opener that set the tone that Symba is serious about his craft, his come up, and success in the rap game. Track 2, Never Change with Roddy Ricch, takes on a more melodic turn instrumentally. Surprisingly, it is Symba, though, singing the hook rather than Roddy Ricch. Here, Symba speaks on staying down and never switching up despite the money or the fame. And I liked how the instrumental shifted between being mellow and aggressive. For track 3, we have Never End Up Broke Part 2 with Pusha T, who gives us the most striking feature on the project by far. It also contains the hardest production, as Dr. Dre and Dem Joints lace the two with this crunchy piece of West Coast boom bap. Pusha reflects back to being inspired to sell work and to get into the game after listening to classic albums in the mid-90s like Only Built for Cuban Links and It Was Written. And I gotta be honest, I can relate to Pusha here on a personal level, as you know, those two albums really got me interested in the Mafia at a young age. So yeah, overall, this was one of the standouts. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a Pusha feature on top of a neck-snapping Dre beat. Then there is Cant Win For Nothing, which serves as a inspirational anthem for the everyday man. It has a very wholesome, soulful, and down-to-earth feel to it. The subject matter and production is somewhat similar to what you might hear on a J. Cole or Cordae project. That was just the kind of vibe I was getting. Symba is basically speaking on the struggle for most people to get on and the dangers of comparing oneself to what others post on social media. It's just not mentally healthy. So yeah, this one will likely resonate with a lot of heads, as Symba is speaking for the everyday guy or girl, who's trying to win, but nothing seems to be going right. Right after is Street Dude featuring Kali, and it's your obligatory West Coast banger with somewhat of a mustard feel to the production. And on here, Symba speaks on most women's desire for a street dude. And sonically, I could dig the more up-tempo vibe, but I don't anticipate returning to it much. Then things cool off a little bit with Trust Issues, and it's a conceptual record about relationships. And while I could dig the sentiment and his thoughtful advice, the sing-song hook didn't do a whole lot for me. It wasn't bad, but it's not a record that I would revisit either. Immediately following is Sacrifices. Now, I did enjoy the strings and the overall lavish feel to the production, but once again, the auto-tune hook failed to win me over. Although, in fairness, I did like how he was telling his story, especially with lines like To bring light to my city, I had to leave the bay. Next is On God, which I do have as one of the highlights. Not only did I like the ethereal soul chops, but I also liked his very perceptive lyricism, like when he speaks on how success breeds envy and how to avoid certain pitfalls in the game. And I dug the line, dudes do what they can, I do everything they can't. I really sold weed, I'm not these industry plants. So that was pretty clever. The subsequent song is Soul Ties with Raven Tyler, where we get a slow rolling wavy instrumental and some R&B crooning on the hook. It's a top down riding music record, not a favorite, but it's serviceable. Afterwards is the standout Find a Way. It's another relatable song where he talks about persevering. I particularly enjoyed the funky and soulful hook by Leon Rich. On this record, Symba speaks about bouncing back after losses and some hate that he received from one particular industry vet, Stat Quo, if y'all remember that guy from the mid-2000s. I have wondered what he's been doing from time to time, but according to Symba, he has spent some of it hating on Symba. Track 10, Goat, is an interesting conceptual record about, what goats really are. It has a sparkling and lush backdrop with faint harmonies that makes it a smooth listen. He pays homage to some of the greats that the culture deems as goats, but he comes to his own conclusion that to be a true goat, you also have to, make moves and handle your business as an adult outside of the music. He then goes on to give a shout out to those who made it out the streets, or parents who successfully raised their kids, or kids that buy a home for their parents. Those people should be looked at as goats also. He states, not just musically, all-inclusively, endorsements, fashion, movie roles to act in. To be a goat, you gotta be great outside your passion. So it becomes quickly apparent that Symba is an artist who does think things through a little deeper, and he seems to be a thoughtful and genuine enough guy. The pace then picks up for the following two tracks, No Sleep with Key Glock and an artist named, I don't know, Jeffrey, and the song Pop Out with 2 Chainz. No Sleep is a wavy trap ballad that stands out as something ideal for the car. And I also like that we got a Key Glock feature. It's good to hear him slowly doing more guest verses, outside his camp. Whereas Pop Out is a frenetic banger with 2 Chainz providing a customary carefree verse. These two records are more about a vibe, but I actually like them a bit more than some of the more subdued and mellow songs on this album. Track 14 is Blessings featuring Raven Tyler once more. Symba is going back into more spiritual and introspective territory. He talks about the advice that Snoop gave him for dealing with haters and just more about his overall come up in general. In that sense, topically, it does get a little repetitive. All in all, it is a solid track, but not one that I would consider a favorite or feel the urge to revisit, in all honesty. The second and last track is Better Days, which offers more of the tranquil and mellow sounds with a hook sung from an unknown artist. It is on this particular record where Symba pours out his pain and gets autobiographical. Lines like the following really paint a picture. My uncle got addicted to crack that he couldn't cook. Prince saw him OD. Life ain't as good as it looks. Then the project wraps up with a very solemn song, Pendant. Here Symba does some vivid storytelling about the passing of a close friend who he will continue to honor by wearing his face on his pendant. I like the soulful gospel quality to the production and the heartfelt vocals from RMR on the hook. Overall, I give this project a rating of 3.5 mics. Throughout this album, Symba does succeed in telling his story and articulating this theme of nothing happens overnight. So I dug the motivational component on this album. He also does show some range and versatility with his ability to craft songs with the theme and message. He is able to balance those out with up-tempo bangers as well. So all of those things I liked about this album, but the biggest drawback to this project for me was the hooks. There was a lot of singing throughout, which in itself is not bad. Don't get it twisted. I don't need him to rap over Griselda beats with no hooks and just a bunch of gunshots. But at the same time, I felt some of the choruses on this album were a bit watered down. Some of the songs I had to skip because I couldn't get into the hooks. But at the end of the day, I would consider this to be a solid and ambitious solo project that shows his strength as an artist, what he's bringing to the table, and I am looking forward to his growth on future efforts. My favorite tracks include Overnight, Never End Up Broke Part 2, Can't Win For Nothing, On God, Find a Way, No Sleep, Pop Out, and Pendant. Let me know what you thought about this album in the comment section. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. As always, is peace and blessings. Symba, DJ Drama. Results take time. 1.